Hello, everybody. Welcome into Ballzy, the SportsDay DFW Dallas Morning News Sports Podcast. I am Kevin Sherrington.
How many times do you say sports in that?
Every once in a while. I like to say it.
Sports.
Yeah.
More interested how many times he says Kevin Sherrington and did you read my column on?
Oh, you know, here's the thing.
Well, that's a record. I think we're less than a minute into that, and we had a reference.
I hadn't even
less than 20
I
seconds.
haven't even introduced you two clowns yet. And,
We need no introduction.
and that you shouldn't get one, actually.
Seems rather harsh, but
Yeah,
go ahead.
well, okay. That's Evan Grant. That's David Moore.
Wow, that
Which
was
is which?
wow. What a
I pointed.
way to throw. Yeah,
Oh.
that's
We're-
good
we're on-
podcast.
We're on
etiquette.
YouTube. We're on YouTube.
For our audio listeners.
Listen, you insulted me before this thing even got started, so I think.
Listen,
I was
I've already
doing well.
scored more points in this than the Cowboys did last week.
Ooh, Cowboys.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. Cowboys weren't very good.
But the NFC East really turned out well, I thought, last week.
What do you mean?
The
It
entire
did turn out
division.
well. So the Eagles won. Big win for the Eagles. Big win for the Redskins. They're both right there.
How many
knocking
points
on the
did
door.
the division score?
It doesn't matter how many you score. It matters how many.
Philly carried him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Philly did.
All right,
Philly
Uncle.
beat the Rams.
All right, Uncle Kevin. Let's get into
Uncle
Cowboys.
Remus. Cowboys. David and I were there in Indianapolis. We had.
We missed you, Evan.
We did. We had a nice dinner at Connor's Kitchen.
Your name came up
I'm sure it did.
Yeah. at one
in
point.
derision, but
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It sounds like you probably had a more enjoyable time than our good friend Stephen Stevenson, who complained his whole way through like dinner at St. Elmo's.
Did he go to St. Elmo's?
Yeah, I think he thought it was named after the Sesame Street character. He
Nah.
also like ordered his steak well done and like proudly talked about this on the and then he was upset with
you
the
should do
service,
that.
and I was like.
Yes.
He also then made fun of the appearance of Tommy Lasorda and Mike Scioscia on TV, to which I was like, what museum are you hanging in?
You know, Evan, you take shots all the time.
I do. I unfortunately just did.
You just on our baseball podcast, you referred to Willie Calhoun, a fine young prospect, as a fat, stubby little outfielder.
He was last year, but he's lost 15 pounds and he's losing more.
And he's not so stubby.
Let's get into
man.
let's go.
Here's the thing about this Cowboys loss, and I'm going to refer to a column I haven't written yet. But
Now we're breaking new ground.
But he may or may not.
I'm planning soon to write this. As a matter of fact, I'm writing it on Tuesday as we speak. Is that
So you're going to work it out on us first.
that's right?
Okay.
Absolutely. See how it goes. We've seen the Cowboys go in this season just a few short weeks ago from the best game they've played in decades, probably overall, offense and defense, to certainly the worst game this year and one of the worst games they've played in a long time, strictly from the standpoint it had been 15 years since they'd been shut out.
Yes.
And
Was it the worst game that they played this year?
Oh, no question.
Was Tennessee worse?
Well, that was a clumsy game, but at least they
It was a home game. At least they scored.
At least they
They were actually
scored.
up in that game. Actually led briefly.
Yeah, this game they were, there was.
This was their worst game of the year, I thought.
Yeah, no question about it. Because here's the thing. Now, of course, you can say if things go differently, they were moving the ball. They were doing things
Early.
Early, they were getting down the field. The Colts were the Colts were kind of allowing them to run the ball a little
Right.
bit because the way they were setting up on their defense, and they were taking away the outside. That's what they were concentrating on. Was doing that, and Matt Eberflus had a great game plan defensively. It worked perfectly, and the Cowboys couldn't stop it. But as David and I talked about during the course of that game, and then afterwards, and then what we wrote from that game was that the worst part about this was the defense played so poorly. The defense had carried them all year long. The defense has been a constant. Played very well. It played at least really well, and sometimes they were fantastic, such as in the Saints game. That was just an unbelievable defensive performance then. In this game, if you read our fine work by John Owning, who kind of breaks down the Cowboys on film, showing things that were happening with Leighton Vander Esch. And then, of course, we noticed this during the game, too. Lots of times he couldn't get off blocks, but the defensive line was not doing a good job tying up things. That's kind of the goal of every defensive line, but certainly this Cowboys defensive line as well. You tie up the offensive lineman, it allows the linebackers to flow to the play, make the plays. Well, that wasn't happening. These offensive linemen were getting out to the second level, getting to Leighton Vander Esch and the linebackers, and they simply weren't able to get off those blocks.
I'm gonna oversimplify everything.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not
I left out the special teams too. You had a kick that was about 3 feet off the ground when it.
The guy blocked it with his elbow, which you don't see a lot of in the NFL.
No, you don't.
But I'm not. I mean, I'm not nearly as football literate as either one of you guys. But I maintain, and I think last week when we made predictions on the Eagles game, I was a lone guy in here, thought that the Eagles were going to win that game solely from this aspect. The Cowboys, I don't think, are good enough to roll off 8 consecutive wins. And so that they lost at Indianapolis does not surprise me. I think what is the most surprising thing, especially with you guys having been on site and gotten the feel, the thing that's most surprising to me is this was an opportunity to put the division away, and they just let it. It's like they took a lot for granted and just let everything slip through their fingers.